Hebrews chapter 11, when he's talking about the faith hall of fame of people who, these people all trusted God in a long time horizon that was meshed within family lines. And there's the hall of fame is not one man. It's like, look what happened connected with between generations of fathers, sons, grandsons, moms, daughters, granddaughters. Like it's a connectedness.
Welcome to the Everyday Faith Podcast, where we believe you can live out your faith every day by starting with belief, embracing your mission, committing to obedience, and pursuing community. I'm Dan.
And I'm Jess. And today we get to talk with Jeff Zaugg, the founder and host of Dad Awesome. Jeff's all about helping dads live fully alive as they intentionally invest in their families and lead with faith. We're going to dive into some conversation today about generational impact and how the choices that we make today can shape faith and legacy for years and years, way more than we could fathom. And so, but first we'll start with some Jesus stories. And Jeff, all that to say, wow, we're so excited you're here. Welcome back to the podcast.
I've been looking forward to this conversation. Dan, Jess, good to see you guys.
Yes. Now, for our listeners, go ahead.
For people that may not know you, please just introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I am. The most important things. I've been married to Michelle for almost 20 years. This coming July, 20 years. She's my best friend and love her. She is mom awesome, and dad awesome doesn't exist without Michelle and her cheerleading, so encouragement, prayers, refining, making everything better. And then my 4 daughters. I'm a girl dad times 4. They're 12 down to 4. We're a surfing family. We do Spartan obstacle course races. And right now, Rubik's Cube. My girls are really into Rubik's Cube.
Wow, impressive.
That's amazing.
That's
okay,
fun.
can I, I'm going to take us off track here for a second.
Do it.
Jeff, you have just such great joy. All the time I talk to you, you got this big smile on, and you're human, so I know you're going through life. Sure. And just tell me, maybe it's just for me, and all of our listeners, where does this joy, like, how do you steward this joy?
Yeah, because it's not happiness. Like joy and happiness, different. Like you can pretend to like everything's, you can pretend to smile, pretend to like bring light, but the source is what matters. So we have the big three things for my Zaugg girls, and it applies to me as dad as well. But the big 3 are: I'm loved, I'm a learner, I'm a leader. Okay, again, I am loved. I am a loved son of God. I'm raising 4 beloved daughters of God in heaven, right? So I'm loved. I know my identity. I'm a learner, which means any challenge, any obstacle, any stress, any frustration, what can it teach me? Lord, I want to have a posture of learning, right? And then I'm a leader means my decisions today, Jess, you mentioned earlier, they ripple forward. So it gives us perspective. Yeah. Leadership anchors our perspective to faithfulness of the past. Look what God has done. And then with vision for the future. So, and then we say, so those are our big 3 as our family. I'm loved, I'm a learner, I'm a leader. And then we say more Jesus, more joy. Now, is it possible to have more? Is it possible to have more Jesus? No, but we can draw near to him. We can be anchored to the source, right? And then more joy is a choice every day. Choose joy. So there you go. There's because it might seem like I'm reading off a screen because it's so like, I have a quick answer.
Yeah.
Because we're training these little leaders, these girls who are going to change the world. So that's why I have an easy response.
So good.
That is awesome.
I love it. Well, and I was also going to mention that we already had you on the podcast, I don't know, months ago, beginning of the year maybe. And we had such a good time. You shared so many fun stories, Jesus stories.
And ants.
Lots of
ants.
I shared the ant story. No way.
Lots of ants.
So for our listeners, seriously, Jeff is a good time and so many great conversations and takeaways. So I encourage you all to go back and give it a listen. But also on that podcast, on part 1, last time you shared your story of how you came to know the Lord. So we're actually going to skip over that today. We're throwing you all off. Normally we start there, but we're going to instead have you start by sharing one of your more recent Jesus stories. Give us the one that's kind of related to your family being a beach family.
Sure. Happy, glad to, and truly, John Eldredge, author, speaker, a mentor of mine from a distance, but also he's, sewed into Dad Awesome, the ministry. He says, share fresh Jesus stories. That is the way the gospel, light of heaven, multiplies out, is sharing Jesus stories. So we have been serving in kids ministry in our church, which is very near to the ocean. So we're in Northeast Florida, and we do ocean baptisms. But in the year of serving, every 3 to 4 weeks, serving in kids ministry, I'm a tall dude. The kids are not very tall. I'm the only, for a while there, I was the only guy serving in our this specific aspect of kids ministry, the elementary room. But
Wow.
we just serve. We try to bring more Jesus, more joy, like we talked about. But I hadn't seen a moment yet where I had the opportunity to a kid's like, I want to know more. I want to follow Jesus. I want to pray to follow Jesus. But there's a family that we've been just praying for, just praying for. They didn't go to church. Then we celebrated they're in church. And we're like, yes, this family we go surfing with. So there's the surf connection where we surf with this family. We love this family, but they weren't going to church anywhere. And so they're in church, we celebrate. But then my girls, I didn't know this, but they prayed on a Friday morning specifically for this brother and sister to follow Jesus.
Come on.
And that Sunday, we subbed in. Usually we don't add extra shifts, about every 3 to 4 weeks, and we're just full life, full family. So we were like, sure, we'll sub in. One of the leaders couldn't lead. And that Sunday, the curriculum just teed up this, like, what Jesus did, what Jesus has done, that he rose again, that we can follow him. And it teed it up without a direct action step. But I just said, if anyone during our prayer time at the end wants to know about following Jesus, praying a prayer of salvation, inviting him to be the Lord of your life, like, let me know. And happy to. And I just sat myself in the middle of the room during prayer time. And this brother and sister came over and tapped me and said, we want to pray to follow Jesus. So I am like thrilled, but it's just, it's not a huge deal in front of the class. It's just a moment of, they prayed to follow Jesus. And I gave them Christian Surfers is a ministry. I gave them a Surfers Bible, New Testament. I had one. I gave it to their family, and we just kept praying for them. And then I found out from my girls, we prayed for them on Friday. And then here we are Sunday.
Amazing.
Well, our church had baptisms the next Sunday. 7 days later, church ocean baptism. It only happens a couple times a year. And I just encouraged, I chatted with the dad. I just encouraged them, hey, if this is something I would, like, we're going to be there either way as a family. And just let us know if you guys decide it's the next step of saying, I'm following Jesus, telling the world, going public with this decision to follow Jesus. And we didn't really hear anything back. We didn't know. And that morning at church, the family comes up to me and the mom's like, I want to get baptized too. And so the ripple from kids into parents. And we huddled up on the beach, and my wife and I said, have you prayed a prayer of salvation? Do you understand? And are you? And she's like, I want to do that right now. So we on the beach, huddling as families, our two families, we're crying, we're praying, they're crying, they're praying. And we held up the whole baptism, the whole gathering. We're waiting for this huddle that's happening. They didn't even know what was happening. And we walk over, we're all emotional, and they didn't even realize there was a moment of heaven celebrating on the beach. And then I got to be in the water baptizing the son and the mom, which was just like our girls' eyes, the shine. When my girls' eyes are shining because of a Jesus story that they were a part of, that they were the first step. Their prayers started a domino effect that led to dad in the water baptizing a friend and the mom of truly. So we're just, that's one fresh Jesus story that I can't I'm so grateful.
That is amazing. That is just so precious. I can imagine my girls in that situation. We have 3 girls as well, our 3 oldest. And that is so, so cool to imagine. I think we underestimate the faith of a child and what impact that can have. Again, we're about to be talking about the generational impact of faith and things good and bad. And wow, what a great way to kick off our time. So cool, Jeff. Thank you.
We're still celebrating. Yes. Yeah. Happy to share.
Isn't that cool too? Like, it doesn't matter if you're you just surrendered your life to Christ, or you've been surrendered for decades, or you're a young kid or an old person. Like, we all get Jesus, and the power is the same. And it's so cool. So thinking about generational, man, I think the world is getting away from generational thinking. I think that's part of what made America very strong a little while ago. And I think, man, thinking generationally is just so on God's heart. right? And even I was reading Matthew 1 today, and it was going through all of the names of like, this came from, Joseph came from here, and the lineage. And I'm like, Lord, what am I learning from this? And it's like, bloodline matters, generation matter. So anyways, I'm excited to talk about this today.
Where do we start, Jeff? I mean, you might know a little bit more about the topic than Dan or I do.
Much more.
Well, I think first to look at what's the stream that we're swimming in, right? Our culture, what's the stream, like you kind of brought up, Dan, and that's that we celebrate launching kids from the home. At the age of 18, they're off to college, they're off to start to be adults, and we celebrate the fresh start. And there is an aspect to celebrating a fresh start of like, yeah, there is stepping into responsibility, ownership, maturing, there's managing a budget, there's education, right? And there's extended adolescence. I don't know if it's an epidemic, but there's a real issue with extended adolescence that are like people are not launching. Young adults are not launching. But the stream that we swim in celebrates start from scratch. So get your first apartment and pay that rent. Get your first vehicle and pay for it, or go into debt. It could be, hey, start from scratch and go into a bunch of debt. And there's an economic side to a start from scratch. Celebrating that your family, my family is Michelle and I, and our girls launch, and they're their own separate families. And this idea and this thinking of independence and make your own future and grind it out and use your own smarts, your wisdom, your education, your hustle. There's so much celebrating. What did I build? And there is, it's not found and it's not celebrated in the Bible. Okay. The Bible
is so good.
Celebrates a long time horizon, a generational connectedness, blessings forward, we sing songs about it, about this generations and generations in the I'm blanking now, Carrie Jove and Elevation Worship. Yeah, the blessing. It's called the blessing. But Deuteronomy 30 verse 19, and I'm second guessing myself if it's 1930 or 3019, but it's one or the other, says, I've set before you life or death, blessings or curses. Choose life. Here's the promise. And the promise is not for Jeff and Michelle, our family unit in this moment of time. It says, choose life so that you and your children may live. And our decisions directly benefit our freedom that we seek, that we go see a counselor and we experience the power of prayer and God's forgiveness and more stepping into freedom. Like, that is a direct gift. That's a choosing life, like that verse describes. Stepping into man, we are, I can even go back to the stream analogy of the stream we're swimming in, like the financial side of, we're going to build a plan and a purposeful step forward to help our kids not launch and start from scratch, but we're saving with purposeful strategic plans so that they can actually step into God's purpose for their family with owning a business or ministry, and not have to carry all the weight of the finances. And some parents are doing that without generational thinking, just as a generous, like we were generous to our kids. But there's a strategic way to think generationally with wealth, with assets, with relationship. Parents that think that I'm done parenting at 18 and now they make their own decisions, versus like, this is a treasured chapter. 18 to 48, I get to play dad to my girls and their future husbands in that window. It's different as far as my authority, but it's man, the blessings and the wisdom and the serving. And so I can go on and on, but that's a tee up. Where do you want to take it from here?
Well, I just want to jump in and say that, I think about the progression of who kids are closest to, who we are closest to as humans, right? So I don't know, I'm totally going to get these exact ages wrong, whatever, but they say, from 0 to 7, it's with the parents, or from even like 0 to 3, it's the mom, and from there to 7, it's the dad, right? But then after that, it's friends. But when they get to be adults, when we're kicking them out of our houses, that's when they're finally ready to come back around to us as their parents, and being close and accepting what we have to say again. And that's right when we're launching them, or society says, bye, go start your own thing.
Yeah, and that's where warmth. There's research done around family warmth and around just the desire, what's felt in the family, even from a young age. Like these earlier chapters of what atmosphere, what culture have we created in our homes that makes our kids feel safe, feel loved, feel valued, feel celebrated, feel like they're a part of this family, not just a child of the family. And that those building blocks allow, in fact, as just a real specific example, I've been really, with all of the groups of dads that I coach, been sharing a lot around what an honor we have to step into a 12-year conversation about how God has created our bodies in the changing in adolescence and the design for sex within marriage. And I'm like cheering for dads to start a 12-year, 8 to 20, or 7 to 19, whatever. Let's start an ongoing, like that's one example of that topic. They're actually in your 20s. Kids might really need mom and dad to engage in like closeness and prayer and trusted, vulnerable conversations because of, whatever we're going to be facing is young married or a young professional. And what if we were the safest, most trusted, most loving, most prayerful? It's an automatic. I run home. And the parallels even to the prodigal son story about like, man, the come home, I'm running to you. And there's so much generational there. But those are the types of, that's just broad strokes of how I think about, it's not a short time horizon. It's not the counter of move a marble, because the marble jar analogy of like when they're 18, all the marbles are in this and now they're off to their own. I think it's, I'm with gratitude. There is a time horizon to them under your roof for the most part, but man, we got to think longer. We need to be thinking longer time horizon generationally and longer blessing and equipping and loving and praying with.
Yeah.
Well, and why do you think it's important that people are thinking, even from a younger age, that are thinking generationally?
Yeah, it's important because God modeled it for us. So let's start there. Hebrews chapter 11, when he's talking about the faith hall of fame of people who, these people all trusted God in a long time horizon that was meshed within family lines. And there's the hall of fame is not one man. It's like, look what happened connected with between generations of fathers, sons, grandsons, moms, daughters, granddaughters. Like it's a connectedness. And when we see the whole macro view of the scripture and the gospel story, it's celebrated hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years of connectedness. So that's one. Two, we know it works practically. So if we do any studying of folks who are Jewish, and if we look at folks who live in Israel or just Jewish folks all over the world, what we find is they're winning all the awards. They have the majority, lion's share of the assets and wealth are in families who see it with a deeper connectedness. So if you live by God's principles with a deeper connectedness of generations, the fruit, regardless of if you believe Jesus Christ died and rose again, the fruitfulness of just living with a high degree of generational blessings and love and submission. There's even that side of like, man, I'm humble enough to say, what do you think I should do in this moment of decision? And like coming to a father when I'm a 25-year-old, coming to dad and saying, I actually want to bring this to you with prayer and wisdom. It's not common, but in the Jewish tradition, it is. It's much more common. And they have succeeded to not have the third generation. When it comes to wealth, the third generation squanders everything in most cases. Yeah. And not with folks who are Jewish, because they've figured out how to live with a longer time horizon of blessings.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Why does it matter? Well, because it works, and God's our best example of it. What he exemplifies in the Bible.
Right, and it feels like we're so focused on us and me and I, right, that sometimes it's like, would it actually be helpful for our mental health to maybe once in a while, or maybe even often, think of others, and specifically generationally, and how can I set my kids up? I have a daughter in kindergarten. How can we set her up to win so she starts to love learning, so that the time that she's in her teenage years, that's not as big of a struggle as if we weren't intentional thinking about how our 5-year-old could enjoy learning, right? So it's like, man, and then that's way better than thinking like, I have to do so much work to teach this girl. You know what I mean? Like that's, the world is teaching us of like, hey, this is what I need. This is like my pity party. When God's like, hey, how about you think about how you can add value to the next generation? in the family line, which is purely God's design, which is why it's attacked so much in America, in the world in general.
And the devil, the accuser, doesn't have to get us like going towards horrible things. If he can just get us to think with a short time horizon, if he can get our time horizon of like, this is all I have, this is all I can bring, is there success or failure in this short? That's the thing about the gospel story, is the time horizon of even men and women in the Bible that made decisions that were deeply hurtful and huge mistakes, sinful decisions. And the broader time horizon is repentance, repair. It's moving back towards following God's purposes. And so one way to think that way, so specifically to the dads listening, I guess this applies to dads and moms, but I have a spreadsheet with a bunch of formulas that I patched together that shows my 4 daughters, and it shows them roughly the age of 25 getting married and having kids at around 28. And then I can put in the number of how many kids they're going to have. And then I have their kids getting married around 25 and having kids at about 28. And it goes forward. And with the input of 4, which is, I mean, I can pray for them each to have 4 kids and each to, all 40, in 124 years. It's over 600. It's over 600
From
just
4.
my 4 daughters and their 4 husbands and them having 4 kids and them getting married. And so just that spreadsheet alone, and of course, it's not perfect math. It's not a prophetic spreadsheet. It's just a vision-rich tool to look to the future. And what we need to think generationally is we need tools like that to keep us thinking about the great grandkids that we're never going to meet. And they don't actually even have to know that their great grandpa Jeff said this or that. Like, I don't need to be famous in this family story, but what I'm building is it's going to directly benefit those generations ahead. And my girls today, knowing that we anchor backwards to God's faithfulness, to our gratitude list that we've made because we've seen him move. And the only reason we live here is because of I think it was 86 specific things he showed our family that we anchor back to say he nudged us in all these ways. It's all written down that led to us moving across the country to Northeast Florida. So we can anchor back as a common practice as a family. It's almost, and then we tell stories about the future, vision for the future. My wife actually gives me a hard time. I'll tape paper together and make a big piece of paper and draw our current house and draw a guest ADA and AUA, an auxiliary dwelling ADU unit, ADU, a little house in the back. And then I'll draw a prayer room over in this portion here. And then I'll draw that we have a pontoon boat that sits here and then we can take out and explore. And I'll draw things and like tell the girls, like, I just speak openly about dreams for the land that we live on and for the ministry impact that could happen from this property. And sometimes it can feel like, why are you saying all these things when they're not possible today? It's because we are pulled into the future by the size of our vision, our faith, and our vision. So that's just examples of forward back that help me thinking generationally versus short term.
Wow.
Everything in our culture is short term too, right? Not to mention, just the microwave society. That's so good. If we'd be willing to get uncomfortable now, because I don't want to put down my phone and play with the kids, play a game or something, right? Because it's easier to watch a YouTube video, right?
That's it.
But it starts now, and these little ripple effects over time, we need to value that, the effect that this will have over time. If I just put the phone away every night, maybe I'm putting my phone away at 5 p.m. and the rest of my evening is family time or time with my spouse.
Unless there's a football game on, then you got to set your fantasy team. But yes, I agree with you.
These are micro practices though that do add up, and I probably am better at the big picture vision than the long term following micro practices. I'll shake things up pretty often. Let's try this now. Let's try this. Let's try this.
That's so great though. We need both. We need both. Dan's the bigger picture guy.
Oh yeah. I wish I was better at that stuff, but it's all right. That's why I married Jess. It works out.
There you go.
Well, hey, as we wrap up part 1, time is flying.
Are we there already?
I know. As we wrap up part 1, how would you like to encourage us?
I think the size of our prayers tie to, like, and Jesus even talked about this, like this village, this town, he couldn't do miracles there because there is the size of our faith, our prayers. Are we, when our kids are sleeping, are we walking into their bedrooms and praying over their future spouses? Are we praying not with like, God, I need this or I need this, but prayers like they keep me focused again back on God's faithfulness and forward for the like more of kingdom of heaven breaking through. And I the book Pilgrim's Progress is maybe a practical tool to add alongside of Pray More. Pray More is a classic. Like the book Pilgrim's Progress, though, the whole journey, he has glimpses of the celestial city. This is John Bunyan, written in the early 1600s. It's but the Little Pilgrim's Progress is the kids' version that I've read twice to my girls, and it's this vision of paradise, vision of heaven. The Bible can do that. Every time we open the Bible, we can get little glimpses of heaven, and like testimonies. Sharing testimonies can give us visions of heaven. Getting out in creation can do that. Jesus stories, sharing Jesus stories, having a buddy over and sharing a testimony, like tell me more about how you came to know the Lord. Like listening to this podcast gives us glimpses of heaven, but the more that we spot them and celebrate them with our families, the more I think we're thinking a longer time horizon, because we're like celebrating heaven now, but heaven is like, it's the long game, right? So that's just a few ways to encourage.
Oh,
Jeff, we're so excited for part 2. Thank you. We just love spending time with you.
thank you for listening to this conversation from the Everyday Faith Podcast. Our goal is to inspire everyday faith conversations. Please join us by rating and reviewing wherever you're listening, and most importantly, by sharing with a friend. For more resources like this, visit our website, askaboutmyfaith.com. God bless you as you live out your faith in your everyday rhythms of life.